The network marketing industry has changed dramatically in the last decade. With the advent of social media, digital marketing, the rise of the influencer, and all the tech platforms that promise something extraordinary, how do you separate the helpful from the hype? Welcome to Beyond the Network Marketing Dream, where authenticity and relationships, simplicity and duplication are at the core of everything we focus on. The fundamentals of building still work. Join us as we go beyond the network marketing dream.
Welcome, everybody. Excited to be with Andrew Logan today. And Andrew, I was just catching up pre-show, some of your background, pretty exciting stuff. You have been training in the industry for some time, built a great reputation. People get more information about how to find you, but it's great being with you today and glad you could join us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. Great to be here. And yeah, hopefully we can share some value to your audience, help them along that pathway to financial freedom.
Well, listen, we'd be a little remiss if we didn't just tell your, 1-minute story, your background in the industry. And then I really want to get into this hot topic of what you focus on and what does real financial freedom in network marketing mean and how to get it. And I think it's under taught. But anyway, share with us kind of how you learned of the industry and some background, Andrew, if you would.
Yeah, well, probably not a super typical story in that I came from university health science background. I was a physiotherapist, physical therapist, whatever part of the world you're in, however you pronounce it. And, we had a good life. And I think the enemy of a great life is a good life. And so we had this good life and everyone's like, well, I had a small business, a physio degree, like I was traveling the world with athletes and everyone's like, you're so lucky, blah, blah. But I was pretty run down. I was pretty, stressed, and financially, again, we just, we were good, but we were never going to get ahead. And it was like, well, like, you just sort of like, well, is this the next 40 years of my life kind of thing? Are we just down on this, you just Groundhog Day for 40 years? And so a friend had been nagging me about using these products. And again, when you come from a university degree, it's like, unless the textbook says it, you don't do it. And it's like, well, you calories in, calories out, eat food, blah, blah, none of these potions and pills. But I was getting married and I wasn't happy with how my body looked. And I wanted to be happy with how my body looked for our wedding photo. So I eventually said to my friend, look, I'll do it. And obviously then we got results and we started to actually think, well, maybe we do need to look at some other ways to make an income, especially when we want to expand the family and have more time together. And we started to sort of scratch the surface. And yeah, we were able to reach our financial goals. I'd set the goal years and years earlier of being financially free at 33. And thanks to this network marketing industry, we were able to achieve that.
And then you told a little bit of a backstory there of your first real training presentation to the network marketing audience. Share that, because I think it brings us to the important part of your story that's valuable for every company leader, every individual, and every organization that is trying to build something great.
Yeah, so leadership's obviously a super important topic in this industry, and a lot of people have very different opinions on exactly what leadership is, and they're all sort of right. No one's right or wrong. But to me, leadership was that you had to teach. And our mantra in our team and our business was teach, then you can lay on the beach. But teach people how to teach people how to teach people, and then you can go off and lay on the beach. And so I'd always really put teaching and my own leadership development as far as being someone who can explain it and train it. Like that was always a high priority to me. Not, again, not that I was better than anyone else, but it was just something that I prioritized heavily in our team. So fast forward to 5 years ago, and my wife and I, we'd sort of, we'd maxed out the comp plan and we were off having this great holiday with our family, and come along this guy called Fraser Brooks. And everyone knows him now, but he was still living with his parents and he just launched his Ninja thing. And it was actually my wife who saw one of his Facebook ads and clicked through. And because we were traveling through the UK at the time, we thought, well, we should meet up and just have a chat. And he and I hit it off straight away. And again, my wife's like, hey, I met this guy and now you're his best friend kind of stuff. But we just hit it off really, really well. And we forged this great friendship. And then about 6 months later, he messaged and said, I'm going to do an event in Australia. And I said, awesome, mate, I'll support you, I'll get a heap of people there, blah, blah. And it was this tiny little event, again, ground floor. I think there were about 80 people at this event or something, and 40 of them were our downline. We're like, you got to see this guy. He's awesome. And 2 days before his event, he had this other speaker coming along to help him out, because it was literally like he's checking names at the door.
Yeah.
He's giving people their wristbands. He's moving chairs around in the lunch break. Like, it was him and Svetlana, his now wife, doing everything. And he said, I had this other guy who was supposed to help out, and he's just pulled out. Can you help? What can you train that's generic? You got 2 days notice kind of stuff but would be valuable. And I said, well, look, again, we've always sort of, we would have basic fundamental training of how to build your business, but we had this sort of leadership, higher level training that we did that was about how to actually take care of your money and how to make sure that the money you're making is going towards an investment goal, and treat this like a business. Well, what does that actually mean to treat it like a business? All those sorts of things. And we had this high level training that I'd been training for years, and it was successful in our team. So we did that, like a version of that from the stage. And yeah, he sort of said to me afterwards, like, I think, there's a message there that people really need, and it's missing in this industry. And unfortunately, having, spent years in the industry and seeing people directly, like within our own company, people we'd met from other companies, make a lot of money, but then not know what to do with it. And, the saying, like, a fool and their money are easily parted kind of stuff. And not that these people were fools, that they just didn't know what to do. Right. And so people are making bad decisions. I remember a very successful lady, a 7-figure earner. She'd been a stay-at-home mum her whole life. So she didn't understand tax, and she didn't actually realize you had to pay tax on this income, on this 7-figure income she was making. So she gets a tax bill, like backdated, of 4 or 5 years of tax. They had to sell the family home, the caravan, the cars, like everything, this dream home that they just bought, they had to sell straight away. And all of these sad stories that you're hearing. And it was like, well, if we're going to sell freedom, we've got to tell both sides of the story. We've got to teach people how to make money. And that's what we do. We have this incredible way to create an extra income stream, but we've also got to teach them the second half of the story, which is, okay, well, how do you put that money to work? Because there's no financial freedom if you're just making sales. Like, you're making sales, you're making money, but there's no financial freedom if you're there still every day. Now, if you love doing it, obviously, like if you love being in, love being at the coalface, love connecting, and it's automatic and you love it, that's totally okay. But how many people do we see, like, the second they feel that they've reached it, and they're probably told that they've reached a certain level, and they switch off, and the money dries up straight away, and then they're in financial peril.
And the reality is, unfortunately, the industry drives a lot of this because it's built around creating a perception, or the optics. If I drive a nice car, if I'm in a nice home, that must mean that I'm financially successful. And so it drives, the nature of it is to drive more perceptions of wealth, which are often what broke people do, right?
Well, I mean, we're a very recognition-based industry, which is awesome, right? But in everything, your biggest strength is also your biggest potential weakness. And so, the recognition of walking across stage with the check, and there's society as much as our own humans. All right, well, I've got money now. I've got to buy the car. I've got to upgrade the house. I've got to take the nice holidays to demonstrate on my social media and that I am being successful. And that's sort of the real underlying thing in my book, is that if we're going to sell financial freedom, like we can't tell a lie. Like, we can't say, hey, you've got residual income, you've got financial freedom, if all people are buying flashy things with their money. So unfortunately, there's a few things that sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And especially when it comes to the financial mindset of, like, here it is, like, well, we've got to give people all the information so that they can get all the way down the path.
So how do you balance that? As you bring people in, you've got to get them to buy into the product, the people, and the concept, the system that's in place. And they've got to focus on the lead measure. They got to prospect and follow up. But I think, there's got to be this balance here too. So how do you bridge that to make sure, and can you use that message as a tool to make the organization stickier?
Yeah, it's like, because as well, like, the excitement, you want people to be excited. You don't want to sit there and say, Patrick, this will be the hardest 10 years of your life. Like, buckle up, right? We've got to be honest with people. And to me, you can sell hope or you can sell hype. And hope is the best thing you can give to someone. Hype is the worst thing. So whatever you're selling, just make sure that you give them the roadmap to do it as well. So if you're selling hope and hope of a different life, just make sure that you can provide them the systems, the tools, the roadmap, the support, the mentorship. And again, like sometimes that's where I feel like it's great to sell financial freedom, but make sure you're financially free yourself. Like make sure you know what you're doing and you're on that path. You don't have to be all the way down the path, but at least make sure you're walking the path. So we need to get people to believe. We need to give them the systems and tools to get started. But then, for me, and this was my own personal mindset when I came in, again, I came from a university background, and in physiotherapy, you've got to train for 4 years before you're even allowed to touch a patient. Like you're not allowed to touch a patient without 4 years, right? So it took me 7 years to become a six-figure earner in physiotherapy, because by the time I went through university and then went through like my prac placements and all that kind of stuff, and you pay to go work for free on prac, like I'm not saying it's right, but that was normal. That was normal, that if you want to be a six-figure earner, you make a commitment at the start and you see it through. So when we started in network marketing, it was like, all right, well, you've got to make a commitment to learn. And again, like I remember reading GoPro and Eric, the opening of GoPro, Eric's like, I understood that the experts made all the money. And so I was like, I'm going to become an expert on this thing. And I was like, well, if I can just be like 1% as good as Eric Worre, I can make 1% what he makes. And that's probably enough for me and my family at the moment. So like, it was about learning it so I could teach it and setting the right expectations of here's how you launch, here's how you duplicate, but here's how you actually put your money to work. And that process will take a bit of time. We live in a FOMO world. We live in a FOMO world. We live in a YOLO world where it's like, just buy the car today. Just buy have the holiday today, right? And I was like, okay, well, look, like, let's not settle for a good life. Let's go for a great life. And it's not about being a wet blanket. It's just allowing them to dream bigger. I can show you how to have a good life, or I can show you how to have a great life.
Is this the responsibility, do you think, of the leader who's building a team in the early stages? Is that fall on the shoulders? And of course, anybody can take up that mantle, but where does that responsibility fall? Should the organizations, right, the enterprises in network marketing, should they be responsible for some of the education, or where does that fall?
Oh, look, that's a really good question, isn't it? Because to me, like if we come into network marketing, we have to understand that we're like part of the whole, again, your greatest asset, the greatest strength of network marketing is that someone else takes care of products, development, research, government approval, shipping, compensation plan. Like I've got to give up on all those things. And I can't sit there and like, well, if only we had this product and if only we had banana flavor instead of chocolate flavor, my business would blow up, kind of stuff. You have to let go of those mindsets. So it was like, well, what's the company's responsibility and what's my responsibility? And my responsibility at the end of the day, and, responsibility is something, again, to take quite, strongly, is if I am saying to someone, come with me on this journey with this company to your physical goals or your financial goals, that is my responsibility to be there until they reach their goals. Now, if they quit, as you say, like whose responsibility is it? At least I can sit there and say, well, look, I showed up for every Zoom call. I showed up for every training. I attended every event. If it didn't work for you, like I was always there. Like that, to me, I did what I said I would do. And, people go into business, there's no guarantees, obviously. But to me, the company's job is to put the products in a box, pay you on time, and to do, the big events. And the whole point then is that we do everything else. But that's also the great thing that allows us to be entrepreneurial, to create our own tools, create our own things within compliance, but that's the exciting thing.
Andrew, where's your focus today? Is it primarily on the coaching side to help people, or are you still building in the field?
So we like our focus is like helping people with this mindset, creating that. This is my thing essentially. My wife still runs the day-to-day of taking care of the people we have. We are grateful and thankful that we created a great culture of leadership. So most of our people are independent. My wife sort of runs just that day-to-day management. We're not in the trenches, enrolling and stuff as we, have been in the past, because this is the primary focus. But yeah, that's the sort of key now is it's a bit of a division of labor, but she still takes care of, again, ensuring that the people who are still, reaching out to her for help, she's there to help them and she's there to support them.
And on the coaching side, so are you working with individuals, leaders? Do you host masterminds? Kind of what's your model on the coaching side?
So try and offer a little bit as much as I can for everyone, so we've got free tools. We've got the book, which is, very, very cheap, do free events. And then we have, your sort of paid online events. I haven't done face-to-face, obviously, just because of the world at the moment, as much as anything. But that's starting to, free up. And we're doing one in New Zealand soon. But then we actually do more sort of like the one-on-one sort of, group paid training and one-on-one mentorship. And that for me is what I, get really excited by each day. And that is really like helping people actually take that next step. And that's what I really want to do is obviously, show them how to really create that mindset that like network marketing is I like to call it like it's the stepping stone in the middle of the path. So we sort of start generally here and we want to get to this financial freedom journey. And we need this little stepping stone because it's too hard. It's too hard to just have a job and then suddenly be financially free. Yeah. So show them how to really turn that middle step into the vehicle to get them into financial freedom.
In working with so many different people, you've got a really great perspective. You get bird's eye view of what's really going on for the average person. What do you find is the biggest surprise for people that you help that are going from, they're just not getting to where they want. Maybe they've had some success, but what's the biggest gap for the average person, right? Is there anything that jumps out at you?
I think the biggest gap one of the biggest challenges I see is again, coming back a little bit to my past, we had to do all this learning before we could earn a cent. Now then, when you join a company and, companies are in competition with each other, right? And companies need to offer great things to help people get started and great bonuses to help them, again, realize that income as soon as possible, start to believe as soon as possible. So often what we earn at the start is a bit actually kind of, skewed. Like we're probably earning more at the start than what we've actually produced. So we always generally see that then people can come out of the blocks with a warm network, with excitement, they're following tools and systems, and their business their income will come up. And then they're going to hit a little wall where they just come back a little bit, like a stock market correction, like a little pause and a gap where now we've actually got to really get in and learn cold marketing skills, social media skills, how to really find people and talk to them and take them through that process, how to coach people. And we learn those as we're going. But I think the biggest gap for people is understanding that at the start, you're going to get overpaid a little bit. Like we always sell in network marketing, you get underpaid. You get overpaid at the very start, then you get underpaid. And again, like anything in society, if we're going to be professionals, we have to learn the skills of the profession, but we don't start learning them until 6 to 12 months in. Mm-hmm. And that's where we lose so many people. Because at the start, it's always about just follow the system, follow the tools, follow the duplication process. And but you can only follow so long. If you want to lead, you got to step up and start creating your own fundamentals, your own skills, your own development to start leading. So I think that's one of the biggest gaps for people is just understanding your business is going to go down, but that's a good thing because that's where we learn. That's where we develop so we can teach.
They always talk about you can't manage what you don't measure and you have to inspect what you expect. But so often we see that even large leaders, they just don't know the activity metrics, so to speak. They have no idea in reality how many exposures were made by their organization. In this day and age of technology, my sponsor, 20 some years ago said, fax me your tracking sheet. I told him I'm working 20 hours a week. It's 5 minutes to make an exposure. I got 10 names on the sheet times 5 minutes. It's 50 minutes. And I know he's going to ask me, well, what did you do with the other 19 hours? Right. And I see this repeatedly. Are you seeing a similar kind of thing? And how do you bridge that for people? Like, what are you doing to try and get leaders to understand the numbers game that's truly involved and that maybe sitting on social for 2 hours posting stuff isn't the answer?
Yeah. So from a coaching side, we try and provide simple tools and systems for people. So we've got a DMO tracker that they can download for free. We talk about your BAM. So people talk about
DMO? What's daily?
so DMO, daily
Yeah.
method of operation.
Okay.
So, like a little tracker. And again, the tracker is only as good if you actually put the numbers in the thing, right? We also talk about BAM as like people talk, but we don't use DMO as much. I do have one there for people who like it, but I like to talk about BAM, which is your bare ass minimum. Like, just tell me the bare ass minimum that you can do consistently every day. And for us, it was 4 things. And now if you grow your network by 1 person, if you add market to 1 person, make a business offer to 1 person, and invite 1 person to an event. Now, if you do that as a minimum every single day on weekends or on, days off or whatever, you do a little bit extra, you will expose to 500 people a year. Now, your business should grow if you're growing your network, marketing, offering, and inviting 500 people a year. At a bare ass minimum, it should grow.
So 1 opportunity, 1 product. What's the ratio?
So grow your network. So add 1 more person to your Facebook friend list, to your phone list. Meet 1 new person. Mm-hmm. Market. So and in the social media world, that can be like creating content that's valuable. That can be helping answer someone's questions, adding value, and building your brand awareness. Mm-hmm. Offer, so directly offer. Skinny, in the words of Zig Ziglar, skinny salespeople, timid salespeople have skinny children, right? Like, you have to go and make the offer to someone of like, hey, I have something for you that could probably help with that problem you're talking about. And then we need to invite 1 person to events. So we call that the Fortune 4. Now, when you talk about how do we actually make sure we do that, again, that to me, that's an education thing. And we sell be your own boss, which is awesome. But when you're starting, you're a team of 1. So if you're the boss, you're also the only employee. And, that means you've got to get up and kick yourself in the bum every day. You can't, because it's not your upline's job. It's not your company's job. It's not your friend's job. It's your job to get up and kick yourself in the bum every day. So that's education. We can only do that through sort of educating people. And really, again, like, as you said, there's the time we spend in our business and how productive we are in our business. So whenever I teach time management, I don't teach time management. I teach productivity, because you can manage your 20 hours a week all day, but were you productive? What are the measurable results in that 20 hours?
So how do you manage everybody's an expert today. You get online and you've got every sales trainer who thinks they understand network marketing, and you've got influencers who think that's the same thing as network marketing, which obviously it's not. How do you deal with all the noise? When I got started, I had a fax, a phone, a VHS tape, and a meeting. Like, it was so simple. There was nothing else. There was no email, which really dates me. But people weren't even using email to communicate. So the business in many ways was really simple to create momentum and duplication. People were willing to pick up the phone, and they would come to a presentation or a meeting, especially if the skill set was there. But now everybody's become an expert, and there's so much digital noise out there with 5,000 impressions a day. How do you work with leaders to try and drive a duplicatable, simple system? What do you coach them to do to offset that?
Yeah, great question. And again, as you say, like the strengths of social media are also the biggest challenges, because it's like, is it TikTok? Is it Reels? Is it Facebook? Is it Lives? Is it, or is it back to face coffee meetings because people are finally, out of the house after such a challenging few years and stuff like that. So I think the base answer really comes down to understanding tactics versus fundamentals. And we do need to understand, like we talk, it's a numbers game, and people don't, when we say it's a numbers game, that doesn't mean, hey, Patrick, you're just a number. Like, I don't really care if you say yes or no. I just need to get my numbers up. Don't treat people like a number, but understand the numbers game. And understand the numbers game is that generally about 95% of people are very happy being told what to do. So I'm going to have systems and tactics for them. So the tactic is, here's a Facebook post, just template, add your stuff in. This is what's going to help you start to reach out to people. That's a template that they can follow. The fundamental is understand who you are, understand your marketing message, understand what your people want, because Reels are, crazy hot right now. In 18 months' time, something else is going to come along, because first it was Facebook, and then it was a Facebook page, and then for 5 minutes, everyone was on Periscope and then Instagram. And then again, 5 minutes we were on Clubhouse for all, that was hot for a week or so. Now it's, Reels and stuff. It was TikTok and now it's Reels kind of stuff. The tactics are always going to change. So as a leader, understand that as a leader of a team, provide systems for the people who are happy to be told what to do. Now, you do have to need to update them every 12 to 18 months as social media changes and all that kind of stuff. But then you are going to have those 5%, even, it's even probably a little bit less, who want to branch out on their own a little bit. And that's when you teach them the fundamentals of who are you, what do you offer, what does your market need? And you teach them, and then they go off and create their own systems and their own tools and their own sort of tactics. So the most important system you need in your business is a system to identify who is happy to follow and who wants to find their own way. And you have to understand that, because if you're a follower, Patrick, and I say, mate, just go out and just figure it out, you're going to be so overwhelmed by the noise there. If you're a leader and I say, no, Patrick, you're a leader, but you've got to follow me. You've got to do what I say. That's not leading. Like, you're like, well, I'm out. So identification of those people and making sure that you understand the difference between a tactic and a fundamental, and then identify who needs leverage. I can do a Zoom call with 1,000 people and show them a tactic. I'm going to do one-on-one fundamentals with the leaders, because they need one-on-one, like, of what's actually the best.
That's a really keen insight. That's interesting, because there's so many old school networkers too, and not in a bad way, but they're trying to drive simplicity and they're trying to drive everybody to do the exact same thing, when the very nature of that isn't going to work, because there's too many options, right? And they need to understand. I love that principle. And if the average company understood it, they would commit to allowing some people to solve the problem their own way.
Yeah. And again, we talk about like what's the company's job and the challenges and getting to be behind the curtain a little bit, more these days. For the company, like their challenge is that they've always got to be aware of the brand new person in the room. And so much about the big events, especially, is you've got to get the brand new people in to see the vision, to understand, like, see that it's real. And that is so important. I still remember our first event, like seeing that it was real and seeing people walk across the stage and was like, this actually works. That energy propelled us for 10 years, right? But they're also going to see that there's people who've been sitting in that room for a few years and they're bored. Because I'm like, well, I've heard this message. They need to be in a separate room. Have them there to clap and cheer at the start, but then go and put them in a separate room, because they need a different training.
No, that's interesting. We work with so many large enterprises, and we try to get them to understand that you can't deliver technology to the whole field and say, here it is, because they will not use it. You have to co-create with the leaders in the organization who are trying to drive their own culture in their own way, and probably try and educate them on some of the fundamentals. And that's even challenging today. Let me throw one more at you. I'm curious here. Facebook and YouTube are not free, and people think they are. They don't realize they're promoting their product or service. They're generating interest. They're communicating on Messenger, let's say, and Facebook is literally selling advertising to the competitor on the very thing that they generated the interest in the prospect. And Facebook owns the contact more than you do. They know more. They have all the data. They have the analytics. So how do you coach people on using those platforms but not being used by them?
Oh, what a question. So again, so my mindset on this is control versus ownership. And again, like when we go into network marketing, and this is like a training again that we've done with like our mastermind people. When you go into a network marketing company, you've got to understand that you don't own the company, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But you can still control their products, control their compensation plan to a point where you can earn an income, and you have enough control over what's going on to earn an income. Now, my background is investing, right? And we love to invest in property. And it's that same mindset that we don't really own. The bank owns pretty much all the properties, right? But we can control them enough to have tenants in them and understand how to create a cash flow and gains off them. Now, it's the same with social media. So you don't own that traffic. You don't own your Facebook group. You don't own your friends list, right? Someone else owns it. So what can you control in there? Now, can you own them by offering a lead magnet, offering a PDF that, if you're in skincare, offer a little PDF that's like, 7 steps to better skin, or 5 foods to avoid to, cut out breakouts or something.
You're saying
like
to get the contact information out of the platform.
So then you can move them from an area that you control to an area that you own. So if you can, offer them and you put them into a different platform, into a different area that you actually own more of that contact details. So I think, again, understanding education's key, and like if you want to win a game, you got to know its rules. And I talk about this like in investing, and that, again, if you want to win the game of investing, learn the rules first. So learning the rules of social media, when people talk about how do you hack the algorithm and all that kind of stuff, it's like, well, what do Facebook want you to do? Facebook want you to keep people engaged on the platform so that they can sell more airtime to their advertisers. Mm-hmm. So understand that rule of the game. And if you're happy to play the game, well, how do I create content that will engage more people so that they stay there longer, so that Facebook can, have more
obviously
airtime?
The challenge for the average distributor is, you say, create content right there. Is like, you want me to do what? Right?
Yeah. So like easier said than done, right? And this is again like the sort of tactic
Digital
versus
marketer's
fundamental.
world. Yeah.
Like I said, this is like big question, right? And again, unfortunately, we see people copy and pasting other people's content. Like, I did a post and it worked well, and then someone else copy and paste it, right? But your audience is smarter than that. Your audience is like, that's not how Andrew speaks. Like I saw Fraser do a really good post, so I'm going to copy and paste it. But Fraser's audience likes his voice. My audience knows my voice. So again, the tactic would be to, here's a post, copy and paste, like iffy tactic. The fundamental is, well, who am I? What do I do? And what do I offer? And, that's again, like what I try and help people do, and what I try and coach people on is basically just understanding that, your audience knows your message. Now, you have a platform that you don't own, but you can control. Just know those rules, understand what's going on, and understand that if you can offer someone content that engages them, or a way to bring them from that platform to somewhere else, then...
No, I love that. You just gave me an idea. One of the things that we do in our platform is we create a lot of very personalized content. So, people have all their social feeds and picture, email, phone number, all that, but it'd be so easy to let them have even more personalization if they chose to. They could, have a quote by their picture. They can, to be able to personalize each and every one of those, those great, if they have a number one company video and we house that, right? Being able to personalize that automatically. So it's their essence, right? That is just interesting. Yeah, I like that concept.
Yeah, well, awesome. If it helps, like
it's
you
great.
Can send me 10. You can send me 10%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Andrew, how do who? For your target audience, how would people get in touch with you if they're interested in more training, or they want to learn how to invest some of their money as they earn it, so they've got something to show for it, potentially when their company turns corners or there's the end of that road? I love your message, because I had a very good sponsor, who from the very beginning was financially prudent, and he talked about it all the time. And it definitely had an impact on my life. I mean, it gave me the freedom in the industry that industry promises, because I was wise with the money. But I'm not sure I would have done so had it not been for my entry into the business. So what you're doing,
the power of mentorship, right?
Yeah.
The power of a strong mentor and leadership from your sponsor. So probably the two easiest ways, if you go to my Instagram at Andrew James Logan, no underscores or anything, just at Andrew James Logan, and there's the link tree on my bio there, and there's lots of free stuff you can start with. So I've got a podcast myself, I've got a YouTube channel. There's some like free, again, there's like an attraction marketing one, there's a DMO tracker, there's a business blueprint, there's things that you can download directly there for free. Or if you go to andrewlogan.net, and again, there's the access to the free tools and stuff on there, but there's also, you can access the podcast, the YouTube channel. So the podcast, I love to talk about, the mindset, business skill sets, mindset. The YouTube, I do like, because it's visual. You can get my, a mentor of mine taught me a long time ago, low tech, high check. So it's black pen and flip chart, but it's drawing it out so the visual learners can really see it. So there's some ways to sort of get in touch and go from there.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I imagine in there people who are interested in figuring out how to use that money wisely. There's a lot of content in there that you're sharing directly.
Yeah, well, hopefully. And that's what really drives me. So, hopefully it can impact some people to avoid those common mistakes, if nothing else.
That's awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Network Marketing Dream with Patrick Shaw. For more insights on building a solid networking business, visit our website, at rapidfunnel.com/MLM. If you loved our content, please share, like, and subscribe. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.